So we're going to do a about page review for Cultivate Faith and Learning. So I know last time Raymond and I had talked about her school community. A lot of it was based on using SEO to make it a lot easier to find and fine-tuning some of that messaging so people are converting. This is actually a high converting about page as it is. It's converting at, what was it, 27.5%, which is really high for a landing page. So we know that it's converting well. The problem we're finding is that the people that are coming in are not the most aligned with what she's trying to do, meaning they're coming in and she's selling a curriculum inside of this, and they're not needing a curriculum. So we want to look at this and see how can we shift this to align to people that are looking for this type of thing, but also looking for curriculum. The first thing, I'm going to actually check my phone. And the reason I'm going to do that is because about half of the school users use school on their phone. And so I always like to look at what this looks like on my phone first, because I'm looking at this on a laptop so I can read all of this. But sometimes these words, and like, for instance, this cover photo, there's this white line underneath that's got words in here. On a computer, I can't read this. There's no way I'll be able to read that on my phone. So these are things that I always just try to think about, is how can we make it as clear and easy for people as possible? Because if half of our viewers are viewing something on a phone, we want to make sure they can read it, right? So the nice thing is this sidebar here, the cover photo, this whole side part of school's about page really only shows up on discovery. This doesn't actually show up on the about page of a phone. It's not going to affect when somebody's already gotten to your about page. So let's start with the about page. So I can see in here why Cultivate. Cultivate is a shared rhythm that blends scripture, Hebrew, and learning into everyday life. You'll have a supportive community of like-minded families, so you're never walking this road alone. Our rhythm brings both strong learning and shalom into your home without burning you out. I like all of that. My question would be, how does the 1, 2, 3 kind of fit into that? It feels, I don't know, it feels like it doesn't really fit the format and structure of the image. Okay. So I would think of like, why Cultivate? Maybe what's the reason for Cultivate? You're helping them build a biblical centered homeschooling program at home, right? So you could say something like building a scriptural homeschooling program in 3 simple steps. And then now you have 1, 2, 3. These are the 3 simple steps. Like, that makes sense to me. And that's the format that I typically like to use, actually, is you call out, like, what are you actually getting by joining this group? Because why Cultivate? Yeah, there's nothing really wrong with that, but you want that headline to be so grabbing that people are like, ooh, this is the space for me. So I would think of like step 1, join the Cultivate group for a shared rhythm that blends scripture, Hebrew, and learning into everyday life. Step 2, you'll have a supportive community. See how we can just integrate what you already have into something that just flows a little bit better and makes more sense. And then you have 2 images full of testimonials, which is great. This one is a different way to learn, a different way to live. We are restoring a biblical cyclical way of learning. Scripture and learning were never meant to be separated. So some of this, I would say we can just rephrase the way that we're writing this to make it more powerful. So for instance, scripture and learning were never meant to be separated. We could say something like align scripture and learning to whatever benefit that has. What's the benefit of joining scripture and learning? So think about it from that perspective. Otherwise, these just are like one-off statements. Hebrew shapes how we think and how we live scripture. So we could sit there and say, learn Hebrew so that we have a deeper connection to scripture and we live it. We are cultivating culture, not chasing systems. So we could say something like abandon secular systems and create a biblical culture in your home. So just there's some ways that we can just rephrase this just to be a little bit stronger. But otherwise, I actually really like this. I like the imagery. I like the different graphics. I like this graphic itself. I would just change some of the wording just to make it a little bit stronger based on what's the benefit of the group. What you'll find inside Cultivate, the unit studies. I love this graphic. This is awesome. Community and rhythm, supportive space. So one thing I did notice is I'm looking at this on my computer right now, and I actually had to lean in to read the smaller spots so I could read it. So on a phone, I guarantee nobody's going to be able to read these things. Maybe instead of a supportive space to like work alongside other families, get rid of that and maybe just add this Cultivate logo to the top, and then underneath it, weekly groundwork, community, and rhythm, and just what's inside the group. You know what I mean? Just have 3 or 4 different bullet points of what they get inside. So in terms of graphics, I think that's pretty solid. I like them. I would just maybe make a few small tweaks. Those will also really emphasize the end result of joining and the curriculum aspect of what you're doing. So here we have overwhelmed trying to center your homeschool around scripture. You don't need more curriculum, you need a rhythm, right? You're telling them that they don't need curriculum, but you're selling them curriculum.
Okay, more like a framework.
And but and I understand that because so often as coaches, we're like, I know what this is, and it doesn't really fall into what the world wants to call it. But if the world is calling it that, then we need to use language that they understand.
Okay.
So we could say you don't need more curriculum, you need a rhythm, but we can't sell them rhythm. That's
True.
something they have to create on their own,
But
or
I
the
have
curriculum that we give them.
Yeah.
So these are things that, and again, like this is something that we all do as coaches, where it's like what I do is so different from everybody else, and it may be, but if other people don't know what that is, if it's so unique that people don't understand what that means, then you're not going to sell anybody anything. So we need to package it in a way that they understand. So instead of saying you don't need more curriculum, you need a rhythm, we could say something like overwhelmed trying to center your homeschool around scripture. What if you had a curriculum that set a framework for, we want to say like bulletproof success, basically, but using different words, but basically like inevitable success. But you want to be letting them know this is a curriculum that's going to help you do. And then Cultivate helps faith-based homeschool moms create a scripture-centered weekly flow that reduces stress, ends curriculum chaos. Okay, that works. And brings peace back into the home. Inside Cultivate, you'll find free course. So I would say a free course, biblical homeschool. You know what I would actually do is get rid of the free course part. I would say inside Cultivate, you'll find biblical homeschool foundations, a simple 5-step framework to stop juggling resources and confidently lead with Yahweh's word at the center, weekly Torah rooted rhythm, a gentle learning flow that connects scripture with real life without pressure, encouragement and community, prayer support, and shared wisdom for your season. Scripture is not a separate subject here. It shapes how your family learns and lives. You don't have to do everything. If all you do is follow the weekly rhythm, you are doing enough. I love this. Like this actually is great. I would say just change this here. We have free course. I would get rid of the words free course. And this has a bullet point for some weird reason. I would get rid of the bullet point because I don't know why it does. None of the other ones do. And then just change this first sentence because you are selling a curriculum. So don't tell them that they don't need more curriculum. Perfect. So just some of those changes I think will really help because that's going to help align people with someone that just wants a curriculum. Right now you're speaking their language of the people that are actually going to buy what you're selling. Cool. And then this side here is what's going to be found on Discovery. So the learning, the faith and learning, this word under, I don't know what this says actually, restored to rhythm, I think it says. I would just get rid of that because you can't read it anyway. So I would just say faith and learning and then just center it down so it's just centered better. Yeah, and then a Bible-centered homeschool community grounded in helping families build faith, learning, and peaceful weekly rhythms together. I think that's great. I would probably just add something in here about the Torah. So maybe it's like a Bible-centered homeschool community with a focus of the Torah or something, just so that people understand that there's just like that extra special niche that's in there. Not everybody who is looking for a Bible-centered homeschool community is going to want that. So just emphasizing that I think will help as well.
Okay. What if I change that first sentence in the about page to something like, "I'll keep the overwhelm trying to center your homeschool around scripture." But then the second sentence I changed to, "You don't need scattered curriculum. You need a scripture anchored framework." Would that be better? Or
So I'm hearing a hesitance to calling it curriculum.
true. I guess I could. It's fine. I guess I just.
One of my coaches, I love the way he phrased it. So he calls it broccoli wrapped in bacon, which to me is funny because I don't eat bacon and I love broccoli. But the concept is you take something people usually don't want and you wrap it in something that people do want.
So you want chocolate covered broccoli, right?
There you go. There you go. I'll take that. Parmesan covered broccoli. There you go. But yeah, like you want to phrase it as something that people understand. The more simple and easy it is for people to understand what it is you're selling, the more sales you're going to make. And then once they come in, then you can give them what they actually need. And it shouldn't be deceiving. It's not like you should be like, this is X, Y, and Z, and then they get in and it's like ABC. Like it shouldn't be totally opposite. But the idea is, okay, I'm selling you on what you want. And when you come in, you're going to get what you need. And yes, what you're selling is really a big framework that like how to cultivate your entire life and build a life and a rhythm around all the things that you're doing. But there is curriculum involved. And for most moms, that's what they want. They just want to know how can I, like, what is something I can just print
So,
out or pull
yeah.
up that I can do with my kids instead of
Okay.
me trying to figure out how to educate my kids. And that's really what a curriculum is. And then, but they get all the extra bonuses of all the stuff that they need, which is how to anchor yourself in a rhythm, how to find
Okay.
that good flow in life. Yeah, don't overthink that so much. I think sometimes we think, oh, how can I stand out by making something totally different? But the problem there is it's like curriculums sell. It's not like curriculums don't sell. That's what people want. That's the language that they use and that's what they recognize. So if you can sit there and say, hey, this is a curriculum, but it's not just a curriculum, you get this framework, you're getting support, you're getting a gentle learning flow, you're getting like all these different things. So it's not really just a curriculum, you're getting all these things in it, but you have to use the verbiage that people understand and are comfortable with. Otherwise, now you're creating an awareness campaign. Leave the awareness campaigns for people with billions of dollars that can afford to spend money just making people aware of things.
Okay. Well, I'll think on it some more so I can get it better.
Yeah, yeah. And well, again, I wouldn't overthink it. It's just really this. And then again, just taking out the bullet point, kind of getting rid of this little section here. But just this line here, I would just change it to something like overwhelmed trying to center your homeschool around scripture. You know, you don't need more books stacked on top of your desks. You need a structured curriculum that gives you a good family rhythm. Something like that. And it doesn't have to be those exact words, but just something along those lines.